Welcome everybody to some more Apex Legends. In today's video, I have some very good news for you guys. It's something that popped up recently on the internet. A lot of people are talking about it, and I kind of wanted to give my 2 cents. So we're on Apex Legends, and if you go over to the store, you can see that there are some items that you could just straight up buy for a certain currency, and then there's legends that you can buy for in-game currency or real-life currency, which is Apex coins. And then you can also buy straight up Apex coins, and what you can do with these is buy everything else that I showed you, but you can also buy these right here. Apex packs. And Apex packs, I'm sure a lot of you guys know. You guys have definitely played Apex by now. Apex packs are pretty much just this game's version of loot boxes. And while this system is way more fair than 99% of the competition because it's all cosmetic and they actually show you right here what are the chances of you getting something of each rarity. This is one of the more fair systems that we have in the gaming community. However, 99% of games out there that have loot boxes do it in such a greedy and such a horribly monetized way that it's so unfair to consumers, and it's really so toxic for gaming as a whole, especially towards minors. The amount of kids who download a free game on their phone and their parents' credit cards are attached to it, and then they end up making purchases that they don't realize have huge repercussions. Some of these kids who spend hundreds of dollars on these in-game purchases, and this isn't me being overly dramatic, this actually happens. There are situations and there have been cases of kids making purchases on video games, whether it's a full-on AAA video game or just some app that they've downloaded from the App Store for free. Microtransactions aren't exactly the worst things in the world. They are still really annoying, and I would personally like to see all microtransactions just disappear from gaming. But as long as you know exactly what you're getting, it's fine. You have the choice of whether or not you're buying it. But the problem arises with loot boxes. Loot boxes are literally gambling put into the majority of AAA video games, or not even AAA video games, in free-to-play games. And the problem with this is because with loot boxes, you spend a certain amount of money, whatever the loot box costs, and you are not guaranteed to get anything of value, anything that you actually want. So the idea is that you can buy loot boxes and end up wasting money on stuff that you didn't want. It is a gamble. That is literally what it is. It's a huge reason why I don't buy loot boxes. I have very rarely, in fact, I don't know if I've ever bought loot boxes. I'm sure at some point I have bought like a few cases, but literally that's it. A few cases throughout my entire life. Generally speaking, I stay away from them because, one, the type of person I am, I hate to waste money. If I'm buying something, I want to know exactly what I'm getting, and I want to know the value of what I'm getting. But when it comes to loot boxes, a huge reason why I stay away from them is because I don't know what I'm getting. I don't like the idea of gambling. I never ever spend money on the lottery. I never spend money on scratch cards. I personally think it is a huge waste of money, and to anybody watching my videos who does purchase those things, I'm not even gonna say that I don't have a problem with it. You should definitely not do that. In my opinion, you should not spend your money on the lottery. You should not spend your money gambling. I think it's a stupid way to spend your money. But I am not going to tell you what to do with your money. Just because I think it's a stupid purchase doesn't mean that I'm going to judge you as a person if you do it. Just my own personal advice, don't spend money on gambling unless you are 100% okay with losing your money. But anyway, I don't like loot boxes because I like to know what I'm getting straight up. I don't like gambling. Unfortunately, a lot of kids get swept up into this horrible money-making scheme that these companies have developed. The majority of loot box systems in video games are made so that they are very addictive. They have very satisfying animations with them, and when you actually get something good, it's an amazing feeling, and kids are so susceptible to this. These systems are so unhealthy, not just for kids, but just for people in general. When you open up those supply drops or those loot boxes, it's a very addictive experience. Now, I've given you guys my opinions on loot boxes. You guys already know. They're bad, I don't like them, and the majority of you guys will probably agree with me. It's really bad for gaming as a whole. But recently, a Senate in the United States actually put forward a bill to ban loot boxes, which I think is absolutely fantastic because loot boxes are horrible for the consumer, and overall they're just an extremely shady business practice that really just needs to disappear and just die. I'm so sick of loot boxes sneaking their way in every single possible game out there. I know that one of the big arguments for keeping loot boxes around is that if you do something like this, if you ban loot boxes, a lot of companies aren't going to be able to make as much money. Well, my proposition for that is bring back paid video games. I would much rather see loot boxes go away and have video games like double or triple their standard $60 price tags. I would be completely fine with paying $200 for a video game that does not have loot boxes, that is of really, really high quality, that actually rewards me in-game with content rather than locking it behind a paywall. I know that sounds very extreme, but think about it like this. Video games that are set at full price at $60, they've been like that for the last decade or last 2 decades. They haven't actually risen in price with inflation. So it's understandable why a lot of video games have gone free to play or even still charge for the $60 price tag like Call of Duty and still implement microtransactions and loot boxes and DLC, because making money just off of a normal game sale is a lot more difficult because people want free to play games rather than full price games. And so actually selling a video game for $60 is a lot more difficult these days, and the free to play games need to make money somehow. The way I see it, free to play games should simply just have paid DLC, like big content expansions that you can pay real money for, rather than loot boxes where you're basically gambling with your money and not knowing what you're gonna get. Have you guys ever noticed that ever since loot boxes have become mainstream in video games, that the amount of content that is free has just been really lacking? The amount of times that game developers will release the game unfinished and then charge for game content that was supposed to be there at launch. I feel like being able to raise prices of video games across the board is going to incentivize game developers to actually put in value into that price tag rather than releasing games that are unfinished and then repackaging that content as an expansion later on down the line. I don't think you can argue this. Video games have become worse over time ever since the loot boxes became a thing. A ban on loot boxes is way overdue. This shit should have been the case a long time ago, and I'm happy that it's finally being discussed, or at least it should be limited. If you're not going to completely outright ban loot boxes, the level of gambling that goes into them should really be limited, and they should be regulated. There should be specific standards when it comes to loot boxes. For example, like Apex does, I feel like they should be cosmetic only, or you should be able to actually see the chance of each rarity of what you're going to get when you open up one of these things, so that people are aware. And I don't think it should be like Call of Duty Black Ops 3 system where you literally had a 0.02% chance of actually getting a weapon. Of course, there is no way to tell if loot boxes are actually going to be banned. So far, all we have is a US Senate who actually put through a bill, but I hope that this happens. It's going to benefit the entire gaming community, and yes, companies won't be able to make as much money, but these companies already make so much money, and there are other ways you can do it. They don't have to rely on loot boxes. They could simply just start charging full price for video games and even double or triple the price of them so that they could actually earn their revenue. I understand that still they won't be making as much money as loot boxes, but it's not worth all the damage that it's doing to the gaming community as a whole, and especially to minors who get caught up in this horrible cycle of buying loot boxes and literally getting addicted. You are literally creating gamblers at a young age, and that is so unhealthy. I don't think any amount of money can justify the horrible morality behind that. That's all I had to say about that topic. I hope that this goes through. I think it would be so beneficial for so many people. And other than that, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you smack the like button. If you want to stay up to date with my content, please be sure to subscribe. I'll have my last video in the corner. If you haven't checked that out already, definitely make sure to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.